A very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me here.
No, not at all. Good to see you. I mean, there's some truth, I think, to the suggestion that this has all been thrown out there in haste, because I know they've been talking about it for a while. But looking at the detail of it, you know, there seems to be an awful lot of holes in it, right? I'm with you, and I take your points that you're going to make about the danger that this could possibly cause to our freedoms and our privacies, and I'm absolutely with you. But when you read things like, you know, will be subject to consultation as far as the practicalities of the scheme are concerned, including how it will work for those in the UK without a smartphone or a passport. Well, if it doesn't work, if you haven't got a passport, how's it going to work for the illegal migrants?
Exactly the case. This has got nothing to do with stopping illegal migrants, Mike. We know that in France, Italy and Germany, they have ID schemes and they have hundreds of thousands of illegal migrants that they're sending back or they're not stopping, and they have issues with them. The idea that the ID is going to stop them is preposterous. It's insulting. It is true that Labour Together's plan for a Brit card says that it will be till around 2027, and we know it would need to go through Parliament. There will be all sort of measures. Unless they did some mad emergency act, they can't just impose it like next week.
Yeah.
However, that's why it's so important now that we really thrash out all these key issues, because, you know, you say you're absolutely with me on these points on privacy, but I think if you say to the British public right now, if we can stop the boats and we can stop crime, would you do something? Those that aren't looking into all the detail of it may be minded to do it. You know, it's convenient, it's going to stop fraud, stop crime. But let's look at the numbers. Hundreds of millions of data breaches consistently across social media, and that's with people who are good at tech, not the government.
Right.
The UK wallet, we know that millions got on the NHS app just to get a GP appointment because you can't get that. And a bit like during COVID and lockdowns, they told us that these COVID apps, these vaccine passports, would somehow do something about COVID and lockdowns. No, what it would do is restrict us more and not have anything to do with the actual issue. And this is exactly the same again. It's, on the one hand, it is an attempt to make a big news piece because there's a concern about Andy Burnham challenging Keir Starmer. There's a concern about funding that's come in with Labour Together, we should say, the people who've put this forward with McSweeney. So there are concerns that Labour's got. They've got their conference. Mike, at the conference this weekend, togetherdeclaration.org and Farmers to Action are going to be doing a big rally. Farmers to Action have been rallying for a month across Britain. We've also got a campaign, a challenge against digital ID. We're going to be bringing our voices to Labour Party conference on Sunday, making sure everyone hears about it. The crucial things are these, Mike. Over the last year or two, we've discussed these things. Debanking, two-tier policing, people being imprisoned or having police come around their house because of social media posts. The questions of low traffic neighbourhoods and clean air zones where we've had bogus reports around net zero, and then we've had fines and surveillance of cars and limits and restricting them. All of these things underpinned by a central digital ID would just become far worse. Not just Graham Linehan arrested at the airport, but actually people being able to perhaps switch you off directly. We know that the CEO of the Bank of International Settlements has said, but the central bank digital currency using digital ID would be fantastic because we can track every transaction. In Britain, we don't want to be a papers, please society. Winston Churchill made that point in 1952, which set us free to get rid of a national ID system. And Tony Blair and the Tony Blair Institute has been trying to implement this for so long. And now Keir Starmer is so desperate, his party and his government are so split. And we're saying that everyone should get involved. Get involved with togetherdeclaration.org. We've got campaigns and protests around the country. People can lobby their MPs. Obviously, we've got a councillors' vote again in May. It's going to be very important. And many are coming out, many from the centre, from the right and the left, as it happens, are all saying they're opposed to digital ID.
Well, we were saying earlier, Nigel Farage and Jeremy Corbyn sort of united against it, you know, which tells you something. But you know, I listened with slight incredulity and horror yesterday to Peter Cardwell's show. He had a guy called Ivan Sampson on, who's an immigration lawyer, a human rights lawyer, who was saying how important it is to stop these illegal migrants from coming into the country. But he also said, he said, now, if you've got one of these ID cards and you want to go shopping, you can go to Tesco's and you can buy your stuff and that'll be fine. But if you haven't got one, you won't be able to. And I'm going, hang on a minute. you know, what if you don't want one of these things? There's no suggestion of what would happen, whether there's a fine for not having one. There's a suggestion that there could be a fine if you don't update your details. But what on earth are we doing in a society if you're saying to people you won't be allowed to go food shopping unless you've got an ID card?
Absolutely, and it's being presented not just for food shopping at supermarkets, but for renting, for working, for a whole array of vital things. We're told it will really help with services. My mum's not using digital ID.
Right.
She has to go to the bank and do it all in an analog way. There are millions of older people. There are all sorts of other people who are not connected to digital ID, nor should we have to be. The idea that to engage and participate in society, you have to have biometric proof. And this is exactly the same argument about the Online Safety Act, Mike, right? They're saying it's to protect children, but what it will end up doing is, like in Australia, forcing all adults to have a digital ID biometric engagement just to log on to the public square now. And we've seen, even in the last week, Mike, Marks and Spencer's, Heathrow grounded. We've seen the 19,000 Afghanis, data breaches. We've seen them in New South Wales. We've seen them in Estonia, where they're saying, look how great it is. Millions of people's data breached. We've seen Ardar with 1.4 billion in India, where people are having their data sold. Right. It's a travesty for our privacy. The British public we must discuss this much more. We're all pushing back. We'd encourage everyone to get involved in togetherdeclaration.org. This is the key fight now for everyone in Britain. And as you say, it doesn't really matter whether you're left, centre or right. On this issue, we can all unite against it.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, I mean, because the cyber attacks alone, I mean, Jaguar Land Rover, in the paper today, we're being told that the government might have to go and buy a load of their spare parts just to keep them going, because they're apparently, they're literally sort of 1 week from collapse. They haven't made any cars for about 2 months, and then talking about not making any until the 1st of November. And that is the problem, as you say. I mean, these are people that understand tech, and they understand how the modern world of social media works. You know, the government, as Mark, our last voice note has said, are completely useless when it comes to this stuff.
Absolutely. So there's loads of concerns there. And let's look at what happened in Portugal and Spain when there was a power cut. And we know with net zero, there are more and more concerns around blackouts and power cuts. How are people engaging? Are we just having things shut down and shut off? And the other concern is we've seen cancel culture. We've seen people being shut down from jobs and positions and pursued. Well, is it going to be that we've just got a government that doesn't like what people are saying? They're saying that's either Islamophobic or it's far right, as they've said about most of the British public now who are concerned about borders. And we get logged out of things. Maybe our carbon footprint is a bit too much with petrol, and we get stopped, we get fined, we get limit constantly surveyed and monitored, like the councils who want to fine people about not recycling properly in their bins. The whole idea of a big brother state, that we're a walking QR code, a barcode, just like with facial ID. None of this was in the manifesto. None of this was in any discussion in advance. This is a desperate attempt, Mike, to control and limit us. And we'd encourage everyone to get involved together and fight back on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you, Alan.